Hey everyone, this is Chris with Homegrown How-Tos. Today we're going to go over making peach wine, and it's actually very simple. We're going to make a 1 gallon batch here, and just about everything that you need can be found pretty much right at your local store. There's a few small things that you can get, but what this is from Northern Brewer, the Master Vintner 1 gallon fruit making kit, and we use it. We make little 1 gallon batches. You can get them in 5 gallon as well. But we're going to go over here a little bit about what we have. Today we're going to make peach wine, and we've got 3 pounds of peaches, and they're already in the bag to help you catch stuff. We've already measured out 1 gallon of water, which is in here, and we kind of do this 2 ways. One, we're going to boil this, and we're going to put all of our utensils in it. That way we can sterilize them that way. And we're also going to dissolve our sugar in it after we're done with that. And we're going to take that and pour it over. Now for 1 gallon batch, you're looking at about 2.5 pounds of peaches. We've got 3 pounds in here. Give it a little bit more peach taste. And for 1 gallon of water on this one, with the natural sugars, you're going to be looking around 4.5 gallons. So we're going to get this water boiling. We'll get everything sanitized and we won't bore you with that. And then we're going to come back and show you the sugar and putting it in, what your first major step is going to be. Okay, well, we're back. We've got all of our stuff sterilized here. Just kind of give you an idea of what we've got. We've sterilized our primary fermenter, our carboy, which is what this thing is. There's all kinds of tools you can get for doing this, but a lot of this stuff you can actually make yourself. In replacement of a wine thief, you can use a turkey baster. You can get spoons yourself to stir things with. You don't have to use big ones. Instead of a actual graduated test tube, this is actually a rain gauge. Got it at the store. We've got our measuring cup, of course, small measuring tools, our airlock, it's sterilized, and the lid to our carboy is sterilized as well. So we've got our water boiling here. We've taken care of everything. The last thing is the hydrometer, and we'll go over that here very shortly. As I said, all of our tools have been sterilized, so anything that's going to come into contact with it, you want to make sure that you do that. We're going to turn this down just a little bit, and we're going to get our 4 cups of sugar. Actually, I believe it's 4.5, and we're going to put it in here. So we'll be right back. Okay, so we've already added 2 cups of sugar, or 4 cups of sugar in. We're going to get that stirred, and once it's mixed in there, it won't be milky. It'll be good and clear. You just want to get it stirred in completely. Put our last half a cup in there, which you want to get all the sugar out of here that you can. When we talk about the sterilization, that's the most important part. Really, because even the slightest amount of foreign bacteria that gets in there can indeed ruin your entire batch of wine. So we're going to, like I said, we're going to pull this over here just a little bit. We're going to stir it until we get it all the way dissolved. Once it's dissolved, it'll be completely clear. Now, one of the things to remember too is that the amount of sugar that you put in is directly proportionate to the amount of alcohol that'll be in. But there does come a point where you just can't put too much sugar in, because the alcohol content can get too high and kill all the yeast in it, and then you just have a really odd batch of fruit wine. So we've got our 4.5 cups of sugar dissolved in here. We're going to put our fruit down at the bottom, And then we're going to take this and pour it right in on top. Now I've already measured this out at 1 gallon, so I know there's exactly 1 gallon in here. And then what this is going to do, we're going to put it in along with a few other ingredients that we'll cover in a second, and let it sit for about 3 days and let all that juice come out. Stove turned off. Alright, so we've got that, the sugar's in there and it's in with the fruit, and this is called steeping. So almost like you're making a tea, but it's not going to be peach tea, it's going to eventually be peach wine. So let's grab some other ingredients that we need to add to this, and we'll be right back. Alright, we're back for the final step of process before we get to the part where we add yeast and test the specific gravity, which we'll talk about after a while. But there's a couple of things we want to add in here and let it sit for 2 or 3 days before we start adding the yeast. First, we're going to add in an acid blend, and with this acid blend, what we're doing is just going to help balance out the malic, tartaric, and what was the other one? Citric acids that are in it, for making it nice and smooth. Okay, now this particular recipe, it's going to call for 1.5 teaspoons of this particular one. So we're going to grab this. We'll get our 1.5 teaspoons here. We'll get our half. We're just going to keep going. I've got 1. 2. Remember, these are half teaspoons. And that's about 3. Pectic enzyme. We're looking at 2 teaspoons of this. So we're going to actually go up to the 1 teaspoon mark this time. And this pectic enzyme, what that does is helps break down the pectins and release the flavor that's in your whatever kind of fruit it is you're using. And the wines can all be made without these ingredients that I'm using. These just help make a good balanced wine. Your yeast nutrient, this is what's going to get added in to give your yeast something good and tasty to eat on while it's really starting to get going and kicking real good. We've got a tablespoon of yeast nutrient here, or teaspoon, excuse me. And I'm sprinkling this all right on top at the moment. And we need a 1/4 teaspoon of the wine tannin. And this has 2 functions. It'll help balance low tannin wines, and this is just made from the rinds of grape, and it also helps in the clarification process. Kind of looks like nutmeg, but it's not. It don't take very much of that stuff at all. Alright, now what we're going to do, last but not least, is we're going to take this little guy right here, and this is what they call a Camden tablet. And this is potassium metabisulfite, and this will kill any of the natural yeasts that might be in the fruit that we don't want in there. So we're going to take this and crush it up, and you can usually crush these things by hand with just a little bit of effort. Kind of sprinkle it in there. Get it all off your hands. Remember, this water's still very warm. We're going to take our spoon that was sterilized, we're going to get it all down in here and mix it up. Now we're going to let let this sit for several days, at least 24 hours. And then we're going to check the specific gravity of it. And we'll show you how to do that here before too long. Okay, well, we're back. We let this sit for about 24 hours. And we're going to take the lid off here. Should smell good and fruity by this point. We've made a yeast starter. You can check out our other video on here about how to actually prepare this. But this is just getting the yeast activated and ready to go. We're going to just dump this straight in. And we're going to put the yeast in, and that's all. Sprinkle it in there evenly, all the way around. We're going to let it sit for about 24 hours right now. And then, a lot of it will go down in there by itself. But 24 hours from now, we're going to come back and stir it. We're going to stir it at least once a day, sometimes twice a day for the next week. And you'll start to see it fizz up and foam up. And that's the fermentation actually taking place. So we'll come back and see how we're doing here in just about a day or so and see what we're looking at. Alright, well, we're back, and here we are. We're about the first 24 hours since we put the yeast in the starter into the batch of wine here. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but that airlock is bubbling away. If you watch it, you can probably see it pretty close. About every second and a half it bubbles up. So we're going to take the lid off of this. We've got our spoon sterilized, and we're going to take a look at it. Now, all we're doing here is just taking all this stuff, and we're going to push all this back down in there in the fruit. Make sure it stays good and mixed up. You should be able to hear it sizzling and all that stuff. If you see it foaming, no big deal. It's just the carbon dioxide coming off from where the yeast is eating the sugar. Alright, get this. We want to get the bottom stirred up real good too. Keep all that in there. We'll filter all this stuff out and let it clear eventually. Okay? So we've done that. We'll set it back aside. Put the lid back on it and get a good seal. And one thing I forgot to do while on camera the other day, that you saw me with the test tube and the hydrometer. The good news is, with the recipe I gave you, if you put 1 gallon of water in and the right amount of sugar, your specific gravity should be 1.080. And that's exactly what you want it to be. We're going to get this down to about 1.030, and then we're going to filter it out and put it into a carboy. And then once you've got it in the carboy, we're going to let it go the rest of the way, clear itself up, and we'll be done. So thanks for watching. We'll get this last little bit settled out here. We'll come back and we'll show you how to filter it into the carboy so we get all the big sediment and stuff filtered out. And we're going to do this process that we just did here for about the next 6 days before we start filtering. So that airlock is back to rocking and rolling already with that gas coming out of there. So stay tuned and we'll follow it up here in a little bit. Alright, well, here we are. We have completed the primary fermentation, and from there the process is extremely simple. You take your siphon or racking cane and you rack it into the secondary fermenter. You want to leave behind as much of the dead sediment and yeast as you can in the primary fermenter. But there you have it. This is our peach wine going through the secondary fermentation stage. We'll let it ferment all the way out, sit, clear, and then you're ready to bottle. After it's completely cleared and you've got it bottled, you want to leave it upright for about 3 days to let the pressure equalize from where you put the cork in, from the outside air to the inside air. And then you can turn it on its side, and the longer you let them age, the better they are. So keep that in mind. But we hope you've enjoyed the video and some homegrown how-tos. If you have any comments, leave them below. We can always do videos on other things you might want to see, so give us some suggestions.